Hey guys, hey, going live, testing. Hopefully, this is working well. I'm using this application called StreamYard, and I've never used it before. I figured, I wasn't really thinking, but I figured that I might as well try it for the first time ever live, because how else will you know if the live tool that you're using works? So I'm going to be talking about what is the strategy one of my students use to be able to go from about zero to about $11,000 per month in about 37 days of working together. Now, I want to be able to make sure that we have the strategy down pat and everything is going. Of course, I have my other journal inside the other room, but I'm ready to go. So, number one, guys, if you guys are watching this thing with me live, write down hashtag team live so I know I can make it a little bit more interactive and I can actually ask questions, leave comments, make sure it's everything that's really good for you guys. If you're watching this thing on the replay, write down hashtag team replay to let me know so I can actually leave you guys some good resources and some goodies below. Also, if at any time you have any questions, either I were not able to answer inside the video or just something that's pressing on your mind, write down hashtag connect. And I'll be sure to reach out to you and answer those questions you might have. And then finally, if you want help being able to grow your business while being able to avoid the mistakes that 99% of people make on the way to growing your business, I just invite you to go ahead and click on the link either above or below the video to book a call with me to see if I can help you. Now, into what we're talking about, guys. So the first thing is you really have to start. Number one, you need to start assembling what's called the referral force. So assembling the referral force means is there's a number of people from your past life, your current life that know business owners that you would never have imagined actually are able to help you. Now, the first thing I always say whenever I work with someone and they have like some kind of local audience or some kind of friends or they've been inside of the space for a number of times, is I say, okay, first things first, you need to go on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your phone, your email, and download all the lists of all the people you've ever met or ever came in contact with in your life. You need to have a conversation with those people, whether it's email or text, does not really matter. You need to have a conversation where you're actually talking to people and you're being able to say, hey, specifically, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is what I need from you. And we're not saying for you to sell those people. You do not want to sell those people because that can turn off some of your friends and family. We don't want that. We want you to be able to, go to Thanksgiving and actually have friends when you're at Thanksgiving. But what we are saying is you want to make sure and make them aware that you're actually doing stuff, okay? Because how will they be able to help you if they don't even know you're doing stuff? I cannot tell you when I first got started, the number of people where about 6 months into it, I started telling people, hey, I have like this bookkeeping business. And at first I was so scared to tell people because I was just like, I was afraid that they would all like judge me. Because like, I've tried to run businesses in the past that just either haven't worked or I just wasn't good at, or I just didn't really have the business skills. And I didn't really want people to be like, oh my gosh, you're just going to fail again. But it wasn't until I started actually sharing that what I was doing and how I was helping that people actually started giving me referrals. For example, I had like someone who was like a local basketball coach. And I was like, hey, I haven't talked to you in like, 7 years. Like, great to see you again. And the person immediately goes, hey, I own a psychotherapy business. He was a psychotherapist. He had his own private practice. He said, maybe we can connect to see if, you can help me out with this because I'm trying to grow. And, I don't really know my numbers. Everything's kind of getting crazy because I'm growing with like insurance. And I said, okay, cool, man, let's set aside some time. And that person ended up being one of my clients. Same thing. I started going to like my church, right? And I started talking to different people. And I was like, I'm starting this business. I'm kind of nervous that it's not going to work because, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to grow. I bought a couple courses, but, I'm just really trying to grow this thing really fast. And he's like, oh, hey, do you know Chauncey? I was like, oh, I don't know Chauncey. And he introduced me, right? And it was just a really cool thing to be able to do that. Now, the one thing that I always see people make mistakes are a couple things. Number one, they're super nervous about doing this, which I was too. But the one thing to note is that you need to tell people, like, they're not going to think that you're trying to sell them something. They're not going to think that you're being crazy. They're not going to care. A lot of people want to help you out. It's just you have not maybe properly given them the opportunity to do so. Now, in some cases, that's not true. Some people don't want to see you succeed. You're never going to escape that completely. That I don't even escape that completely, right? But it is something that we do face. Now, the second thing that I see most people doing is they actually discredit people who could actually help them. For example, there was a student in my program called Mark. And Mark, when he was getting started, I told him to do this activity. He's like, I don't know any people who know any business owners. Like, none of my friends have any money. They don't know anybody. I was like, huh, okay. So in this particular case, Mark was in his 60s. I'm like, so you've been on this planet for over 60 years and you don't know anybody who has either money who owns a business or who knows someone who owns a business, that to me sounds, highly improbable. He said, well, I do know some people and blah, 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 blah. So I kind of was a little bit stern. I was a little bit like, hey, do this thing, man. This is very, very important. He actually ran that thing. And then what he was able to do was he got someone who he spoke to, and the person ended up being like a $950 a month client. He needed a cleanup. So it was a $10,000 cleanup plus $950 thereafter. And it all came from him going and actually talking to people who he actually thought. I remember this exact conversation. I told him, reach out to this person. He said, that person doesn't know anybody. And that person ended up knowing someone who actually referred a client to him. And it's all about just be open, be willing to put yourself out there, be willing to be wrong, and you're going to be able to grow a lot faster. That's number one, okay? Now, number two is you have to start really looking inside of assembling your tools. Okay. Number one tool, you need to have an email address. This could be like a business email address. You can go on Google, like go buy Google domains. They're like $1 per year for the domain, $6 a month for the website email address, right? It's like $7 a month or $7 total for the first month, right? Go get that. Number two, you need to go set up your LinkedIn profile. Number three, you need to have a good Facebook profile. And then number four, we need to start joining a lot of different Facebook groups. And number five would be to have some business cards. Okay. Those five things are incredibly important for you to really dominate the local market. Now, one thing to note, if you want a resource, I made a resource actually about how to dominate the local market, even if you're in a market where most people don't pay a very high amount of money. Okay, the reason why I say this is because there's certain states, certain cities, certain counties where they're used to underpaying for the services. So if you live in one of those places, it's very hard for most people to break into the industry and start actually getting people who want to give you money. So there's a way that you can get around that, a way that you can start tapping into the people who have the most money inside of the local area and the people who are the most, likely to spend a higher amount of money. So if you want that, go ahead and comment inside of the chat, local, just type in local. Local, let me see. Local. Well, I can't type in the comment, but whatever, I think you guys can. Will the live session be recorded and sent to me? So it will be sent to you. Can you please write out your name inside the chat? I'm using this tool called StreamYard, so I can't actually see who is commenting inside of this chat. Someone's posting local. Awesome. Local. So I'm seeing some people inside the chat. It's kind of cool to kind of see this because I'm actually streaming across... It's actually streaming across two different platforms, right? So I'm on like Facebook and I'm also on... also inside my Facebook group and my Facebook profile. So it's just kind of cool. The reason why I even got this tool, just to be completely honest, is because I'm like a owner, not an owner, but an admin inside of two different Facebook groups. So I'm part of my one that's 25,000 people, and I have another one that's 23,000 people inside of it. I just didn't really feel like doing 2 lives a week, so instead I can be in 2 places at one time. So that's why we're here. Now back to what we're saying, okay? The reason why we need this thing. Step number 1, you need to start really learning how to utilize different Facebook groups is number 1. Now, a lot of people do not really understand. Wait, Ali said, why type local? Well, Ali, so I know you want the resource. What do you mean? I can't read your mind if you want the resource. If you want to type out local, and I'll be sure to get it to you. Now, back to what we're saying, a lot of people don't understand how to use Facebook groups, right? They're thinking that you make one post and then you get clients coming to you. Now, in some cases that does happen. We do have a lot of good resources and templates inside of my program that show you how to go and get someone who's really interested in your service right away. But then the second part is you need to really know that if you are using a Facebook group and you're using this local strategy, your goal is to be able to kind of like put down like this artillery fire that is causing people to see your face, right? The easier and the more that someone sees your face, the easier it is for you to reach out to them and then be very responsive, them already trust you, and then being very open to talking to you. Now, that's why it's so important to be inside of Facebook groups. Now, the way that people struggle when it comes to Facebook groups is they make these posts, and it's just like they spend a lot of time on Canva. They make them look really, really, really beautiful, right? And it has like the content and like the wording above it says like, hey, if you're looking for a bookkeeper, you're looking for an accountant, looking for a CFO, a CPA, then here's my name, my phone number, my email, and my website, right? And that's really cool. But if you've ever managed a Facebook group or you've been inside of a Facebook group, I literally have about 20 to 30 people posting that exact same style of post every day. And it starts getting very, very blurred. Like it's just, they all look alike. They all look the same. And people start developing what's called banner blindness. So banner blindness is a term that on like websites and social media, they used to have a lot of like these like ads at the top of every single website, right? And then when they first started, people would see the ads, they would click on them, they would buy. But over time, people started becoming very, very, very resistant to it because they just kept seeing it, they kept seeing it, they kept seeing it, they kept seeing it. And it's almost like their brain goes on autopilot and they stop being effective. It's the same thing with those kind of Facebook posts. They just stop being effective. Instead, you need to learn how to make posts that, number one, show off your personality. Number two, show that you care about them. Number three, show that you have some kind of experience or expertise in what you're doing. And if you're not an expert, don't let that, discourage you. When I say expertise, it just means something that the person who is watching or reading your post does not know, right? You don't have to be a 50,000-year-old CPA with 25 years of knowledge. We're not saying you have to have that. What we are saying is you need to, whatever knowledge you do have, share that with people, because there's a lot of business owners that are doing, $750, $1 million, $2 million per year and have no idea what they're doing when it comes to accounting and bookkeeping. You'd be so surprised. You'd be so surprised. For example, I have a client named Mike, and he got a client who was in the construction industry. And the dude had no clue about accounting, no clue about bookkeeping. He had no idea. But he opened his business after being like in sales for a construction company for like 20 years. So when he opened the business, he had all these connections with like bankers, he had connections with potential clients, and he actually got a $500,000 loan. He got two $500,000 loans in the first probably 3 weeks that he launched the business. And it was just ridiculous, right? But it was just a train wreck when it came to the back office. And if it wasn't for Mike, like that guy would have been in trouble, right? Would have been in trouble. Now, just because that person has a lot of money, and he has what? They had two $500,000 loans given to them. They had money, right? But he had no experience when it came to that. So if you just tell him a little bit more that even if you're not a super expert, you know more than that person, and you have expertise in their eyes. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Those are kind of some little tricks you have to learn along the way, so you can kind of, make up if you're not 50,000 years inside the game. Now, kind of going back to that, okay? So when we're on Facebook, we have to make sure it's hitting those 5 points, right? Because that's what's going to get people to stick with you, right? Oftentimes, what most people don't understand about content and branding is a lot of the time, your job is just to be able to share who you are, what your values are, and that actually gives them a reason to understand exactly like why should they be either working with you or why should be helping with you. Because a lot of this stuff is very relationship driven, right? Especially when it comes to raising and charging a higher price. I was speaking to a student inside of my program, and I had told her that this one client had a lot of money. I was like, dude, your client has money. Go raise the price on her. Because when she joined the program, the person was only paying her like $300 a month. And I was like, dude, why are you charging $300 a month? Go raise the price. She's like, no, I can't. We've been in this agreement, been in a long standing agreement. Like I can't do that. She doesn't have any money. And then literally she comes to one of our coaching calls on it was either Tuesday or Thursday. I can't remember exactly which one. And she goes, remember the client that was paying me $300 a month? Yeah, well, this other virtual assistant came in, is now getting $5,000 a month. I said, oh my gosh. I was like, wait, don't you have virtual administrative services as well in your offer? So you can be a bookkeeper and you can do VA services? Yeah. Well, so she was paying you $300. You didn't think she could pay any more. Then she went and found this random person and is paying her $5,000 per month. One, I told you so. I told you she could have charged you more. And two, let that be a lesson for you guys maybe watching. People have a lot more money than what they might be letting you on. Okay. I've talked to, for example, there was another student who I was on a consultation call with her to see if my program was a good fit. And we were kind of vibing. I was just we were telling like horror stories about, what happened like with me and in my accounting firm versus what happened with hers. And she charged this business, she tried to say like the price was like $300 a month. And the business owner was like, we don't quite have that. We can't afford that. We can't afford that. Right. So she like lowered her price and like got in for like $150 per month. Keep in mind, this is not my student. This is like before we started working together, but just talking on the phone. Right. And she said when she got in, she was only charging them $150 a month because that's what they said that they can afford. She goes and she looks at the book. They have literally $1 million. They had $1.2 million in cash in the bank. And talk about they can only pay her $150 a month. It's like, ooh, that's devastating. That's dirty. Okay. But it comes from a lack of them knowing who you are, knowing your beliefs, really trusting you, really liking you, right? Because people, if you like someone, you're not going to try and shaft them. You're not going to try and rip them off. You're going to try and make sure that you're doing right by people. Okay, so you have to make sure that before you start working together, you have a really deep, ingrained kind of relationships being built. Cool. So I'm going to kind of move on to that point, unless there's any other questions. Let me know if there's any questions below so far, and I'll be sure to answer them inside. I can't really type back to you, but I can answer on the stream. This is a really cool app. I've never used this application before, but grateful that I have it now. It's really awesome. But yeah, any questions about that? If there are no questions, put a 1 down below so I know I can move on. Sometimes, when you're in the silence and you can't really hear or see people, it can be very disorienting. That's kind of why I asked for you guys to put certain things down, and it makes sure that I'm not moving too fast and leaving certain people behind. So cool. So I'm starting to see some stuff inside the chat, so I will just move on to the next piece. Okay, so how do we use the online version? So once we have them on Facebook, what do we do next? Okay, so this is where it comes down to email, LinkedIn, business cards. Number 1, you need to be utilizing LinkedIn. Okay, so since we're using this local strategy, if you have a job right now, you have a direct access and direct line to clients. You just don't really know exactly how to utilize it first. Jalen said, yeah, so show people your personality. Exactly, Jalen. A lot of this stuff is based on personality. A lot of stuff is based on personality. For me, for example, I sometimes have trouble saying no to people who I really like. For example, I was on a phone call on Saturday for this gentleman who was helping me with Instagram or something. I honestly don't even know what he does, to be honest. We were just talking. I really liked him, and he had this offer. He's like, "Hey, man, for X amount of dollars per month, I'll do XYZ for you." I was like, "Okay, cool, man." He's like, "Oh, you want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah." Were you serious about that offer, or were you just kind of talking? And he's like, "Oh, no, I didn't think you'd go for it." I was like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it." And just gave him the money, right? And it was a lot more money than what the average person would do. And it's the stuff he's doing is a lot less than what you guys do as an accountant and bookkeeper. It's basically just social media management for my Instagram account, because I don't really do anything on Instagram, right? But it's a lot of money per month. And it's all because I like the person. We talked for about 20 minutes and I just asked him some questions and, hey, let's go. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I think is what the phrase is called, right? All because I like the person. That's going to go a long way. I cannot tell you how many people, when I ran them through my pricing calculator, it said it should be $1,000 a month or $1,200 a month. I knew that just because the person liked me, they weren't going to say no to the price that I was going to charge. So I just doubled what the price quote said. And was like, hey, $2,400 a month. And they're like, okay. It happens all the time, especially students at my mentorship program. Is yeah, if you get that relationship down, that's so much the battle. So much the battle. Now, when it comes to that, okay, sorry, I got a little distracted. When you're driving to work, you need to be taking note and taking stock of every single business, every notable business that is on your way to work. Okay, you're building this list of people that not only can you service, but also if they ever want to do an in-person interview, or they just want to just you to drop off a business card or drop off a flyer, it's on your way to work. So it's not going to take you any more time than usual, outside of maybe parking inside of the front of their building, right? Some people don't like that. Some people I only want to be virtual. That's okay. I'm just saying, if you did want to do this strategy and actually have a physical touch point, you could do this as well. One thing to note is that just because you do the interview with them in person does not necessarily mean that they're going to actually let you, that they're actually going to want you to be in-house. For example, one of my students' name is Melissa, and I manage some of my students' LinkedIn accounts. I have my VA go through and do the messaging and the outreach for them, so that the leads kind of come on autopilot to a certain degree. And the person goes, hey, I would love to talk to you. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to work with you. Can you stop in at our office? And then Melissa was like, well, I don't want to do anything in person. I said, okay, so say that inside of your message. So what she said inside of her message on LinkedIn was, hey, I don't do anything in person. I can meet with you this one time, but all my stuff is remote. The person goes, oh, that's okay. I don't actually want you to work in my office. I just wanted to meet you. The less I see you, the better. So it's just kind of a misconception that most people have. So number 1, how do you do it? So you make your lead list. Number 2, you're going to go and find on LinkedIn every single one of the business owners that own the businesses on your list. Then you're going to send them connection requests. You're going to talk to them about what you do. Now you're going to also say that you are local to the area. Now, next thing you're going to do is when they reply, you're going to try and build a relationship. Now, building a relationship, again, this is so key. A lot of people go straight and say, I am a bookkeeper. I offer this. Pay me money. That is not what we want to do. Instead, you need to get them talking about themselves. What are their goals? How big is their business? Ding, ding, ding. How big is their business? How much revenue are they on track for this year? Now, the way that you ask these without being offensive, like how big is their business, how much revenue, is by asking them to brag about their business. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. If you get someone who's doing really well to talk about themselves, they will talk about themselves. And then you can identify, is this the kind of person who I want to work with? Is this the right size business? How does this person feel about money? How does this person feel about me? How does this person feel about spending money? Is this person kind of frivolous? Are they really tight with their cash? And then that's going to give you a lot of information so that when you actually do invite them to the sales call, you have so much information about them that it's easy for you to get them to want to work with you, okay? That's before you even do that. Okay. So now let's say, okay, so you've reached out to people on LinkedIn. Now you're waiting for people to reply. Maybe some people have accepted your connection request. Maybe they reply to you on LinkedIn, but they don't really check their messages that much. And, they don't really give you a yes or no. Now, since you have email, oftentimes on LinkedIn, once you are connected with someone, it actually gives you and shows you what their email address is. So now you can actually send them an email that's a little bit more direct. So the first thing when it comes to an email, also, if you want me to send you an email template, go ahead and write down email. Say email template or email. It doesn't really matter. And I'll finish that when it's finished. Like I just haven't really thought about creating a free version of it, so I might send it to you. I just don't want you guys sending out a huge amount and then like my students get mad at me. So if you want this, I'm only doing it, if you've watched the live stream. So write down email and I'll send it to you. Now, what we're talking about next, okay, is email. So it's going to be a little bit more direct. Because you say, hey, we connected on LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw my other message, but here's what I do. I do this. Here's benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. Okay? Why are we including these benefits? Because you have to be able to differentiate yourself across from everybody else. You'd be so surprised how many people do not know the difference between a CPA, a bookkeeper, an EA, or a CFO. And if you do not differentiate yourself, then they're going to be like, oh, I already have a CPA. And it's like, well, I'm trying to do only bookkeeping. I don't want to do any tax. I don't want to do anything like that. I only want to do bookkeeping. Oh, that's what you do? Oh, how is that different than my CPA? They literally do not know. It's not that they're being disrespectful. It's not that they're trying to be rude. They just do not know. So you have to educate them. And that's what those bullet points do inside of your email template. After you have those bullet points, then generally it's like, would you like to set aside some time later this week to see if I can help you with your accounting or bookkeeping? Now, when it comes to email, you want a very, very, very direct, like yes or no kind of response. Okay, because for that one, if they reply yes, you just send them over some times, or you can send them a link to like your calendar software, like Acuity, Schedule Once, Calendar. I don't know exactly what you have because this is a group training, but you send that to them. Okay. So now you actually get calls booked on your calendar, and now you're able to sell people a lot easier. Audrey uses this method a pretty good amount. She's at about 18.5, about $18,500 per month top line revenue from using a method like this, right? Just go on LinkedIn, building those connections and sending those emails. So it's a really powerful tool if you know how to do it correctly. Okay. And then finally, business cards. Once you've made contact, since they are on your way to work, one thing you can do is stop in, say, hey, I know you saw my email. I know we have this call scheduled. I just want to just stop in, just introduce myself and talk to you. Here's some of my business cards. Bring 3 business cards. Wherever you go, always leave 3. Okay, 1 is for the owner so they can call you back. The remaining 2 are so they can hand it out to their friends whenever they want to, whenever they see someone who needs this stuff. Now, even if no one ever sends out your business cards, that's okay. You still have 3 different markers inside of their office or inside of their place of business that reminds them that you exist, right? But on the off chance they do actually send it to somebody or give it to someone, now you have a new client from 1 unit of output that was very, very easy for you to get. And that's how, like my student Nicole, like the one we've been talking about, how she went from 0 to about 11,000 per month. She just did this same exact process. It only took her about 37 days to do so. Now, in order to make this thing work, you do have to be kind of moderately friendly. When I say friendly, it's just more like you have to be open to people who want to work with you. If you're kind of like, very picky and you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody unless they want to pay me $5,000 a month, or unless they want to do this XYZ thing, it can be kind of hard. Some of these clients only want to pay you $1,000 a month. Some of them only want to pay you $2,000 a month, right? But if you're not really open to talking to people, not really open to people who like you, if you're not really open to new opportunities, then this strategy could be a little bit hard for you. You might want to watch some of my other videos that are more of like the virtual space, more like how to use LinkedIn alone or how to use Facebook alone. But if you don't mind talking to people who are interested in working with you and interested in buying from you, then this strategy is amazing. You might want to go back and watch this thing because there's a lot of like little things inside of it. Now, also, hopefully you enjoyed this video. You've learned something new. If you could, maybe inside the comment section, write what was your biggest takeaway from this video. And I'll be sure to just take note of that and maybe even make future content related to that. Also, if you want some help growing your accounting or bookkeeping business, but you don't really know what you don't know, you know that there's obviously a faster way to grow to, $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 per month. But for whatever reason, just not really apparent to you at this moment. But if other people are doing it, right? You want to know exactly what we're doing, exactly how to do it, and see if it's a good fit for you to work with me, go ahead and click on the link inside the description either above or below the video to book a call with either myself or my partner to see if I can help you. Now, hopefully you have a really great day. And also, if you're above 11,000, we have a really good program for that. So we've been taking people from about 11,000 to about $30,000 per month pretty consistently now. I generally don't share that with the public because I do have to verify that, you are a good business. The stuff you're already doing is in line with the stuff that we do to get you to about 30,000 per month. But if that's you too, you can also book a call with me. Let me know. Okay. So hopefully you have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, and I will see you inside of the next video. Take it easy. How do I end this? Restream.